Thomas had been on the streets for almost 12 hours. Earlier that day, he stopped by home to eat and rest a little. Night was falling, and he preferred night trips, which usually paid more, and he needed the money. He was close to finishing the car payments. A man in the night trying to honor his ordinary responsibilities as a family man. He had just dropped off another passenger. The door closed, and the car remained parked. His phone vibrated. A message from his wife. Somewhere between a message and the next ride, between routine and responsibility, Thomas made small choices, ordinary choices, and we never know which one will unleash the chaos. Until then, Thomas had lived his safe daily routine. But tonight, a treacherous turn waits ahead. A steep descent into someone else's evil. Thomas was receiving a call from his wife between one ride and the next. It wasn't unusual. They talked about small things, bills, the electricity bill that had gone up again, the school meeting next week. Their son needed help with a project. Their daughter had a presentation coming up. Everyday life. She asked when he would be home. He answered, soon. He always said soon, but it was already approaching 4 in the morning. There were only 2 car payments left. 2. After that, things would calm down. He would stop working nights. He would spend more time with his family. That was the plan. His wife definitely didn't like the night shifts. She had heard the stories. Drivers robbed, drivers assaulted, drivers who simply disappeared. But Thomas always gave the same answer. We just need to finish paying the car. Just 2 more installments, then everything would change. Their conversation was interrupted by the app. A new ride request. The amount made him look twice. They were paying well. Late hour. Distant neighborhood. He stared at the map. The pickup point wasn't in the best area. Dim lighting, industrial blocks. A region people avoided after dark. He hesitated for just a moment. He could decline. But there were still 2 payments left. Just 2. He accepted. The city at night felt different. The traffic was lighter. The streets breathed more slowly. Red lights reflected on the windshield. Neon signs flickered in the distance. There was something peaceful about it. No rush hour. No horns. No impatient drivers. That was why he preferred the night. More money, less chaos. Or at least that's what he believed. The GPS voice guided him through increasingly quiet streets. Shadows stretched longer between the buildings. The houses grew smaller, the sidewalks emptier. Then he turned onto the final street. On one side, a long concrete wall, silent. Probably an old warehouse. On the other side, neglected houses. Tall grass swallowing the sidewalks. Weak street lights fighting the darkness. No movement. No pedestrians. No sound. Thomas slowed the car, as he always did in more suspicious areas. He moved forward slowly, approaching the exact pickup point. The car stopped. 2 figures approached from the darkness. One of them was a man dressed as a woman. They waved a phone as if confirming the ride. Thomas hesitated. Without unlocking the doors, he lowered the window slightly. "What's the name on the ride?" They answered correctly. Thomas unlocked the back door. Both entered quickly. The door shut. And in the next second, a gun pressed against his head. A knife touched his neck. "Drive." They ordered him toward a narrow dirt road leading into the woods. Thomas tried to reason with them. "Take the car. Take everything. Just let me go." But the men were clearly under the influence. Their eyes unfocused. Their voices unstable. They dragged him out of the car deeper into the forest. There, a small wooden house stood hidden between trees. Inside, Thomas understood. It was a drug point. Armed men, violent men, men who had already decided. He was pushed inside. In one of the rooms, he saw another driver, tied, beaten, barely conscious. And on the floor, another man, motionless, maybe dead. The assaults began. They beat both hostages at the same time. They used Thomas's phone to call another driver. That was when Thomas understood. They weren't robbing drivers. They were hunting them. Their goal was clear. 10 drivers that night. Thomas and the other hostage were threatened constantly, beaten repeatedly. The violence only paused when another car arrived. The 4th driver. He had answered the call from Thomas's phone. Now there were 4 captives. They tried to whisper plans while the attackers stepped outside, but they were tied, helpless. Beside them, the 1st driver's body, already lifeless. There was no negotiation, no ransom. No money would save them. Outside, shouting. The 5th driver had arrived. Halfway to the goal, one of them laughed. They tied the 5th driver as well. The room grew smaller, more suffocating. One of the criminals decided to wrap the 1st driver's body in a carpet and move it elsewhere. That was when it happened. One of them carelessly left his gun on top of an old refrigerator. As they bent down to lift the body, the older driver, the one who had been there first, stood up suddenly. He grabbed the gun. For a moment, everything froze, but his hands were tied. He could hold the weapon, but he couldn't pull the trigger. The attackers lunged at him. They fought. In the chaos, a voice whispered, "Jump through the window. Run." Thomas didn't think. He threw himself through the window. Hands still tied, he fell into dense brush, rolled down a slope. Behind him, screams. Gunshots. Thomas landed at the base of the hill, half his body stuck in thick mud, injured, bound. The attackers were shouting. One escaped. He clawed at branches, pulled himself free, dragged his body through the dark forest. More gunshots echoed from the house of horror. He knew the others were likely dead. He walked blindly until his strength gave out. He collapsed. Then dogs barking, close, loud. A flashlight beam approached. A man with a gun. Thomas thought, "They found me. I'm going to die." But as the light reached his face, he saw a uniform. A police officer. Thomas had collapsed near the outer wall of a prison facility. The dogs and the officer were on patrol. At first, they thought he was an escaped inmate, but they quickly understood. Reinforcements arrived. Thomas begged them, "Please, save the others." The police went, but when they reached the house, there was nothing left to save. All the other drivers, except Thomas, were killed that dawn. Beaten, tortured, executed. All because they answered a call that night. Thomas survived. That is what the reports said. That is what the headlines repeated. The only survivor. But survival is a complicated word. Today, Thomas rarely leaves his house alone. The outside world feels unpredictable. At night, the forest comes back. Not the trees. Not the dirt road. The smile. He sees her face. The same expression she wore while they beat them. She kept repeating it. "You're not leaving here alive," over and over. Sometimes he wakes up before she finishes the sentence. Sometimes he doesn't. He lives on medication now, stronger ones before bed. Doctors call it post-traumatic stress. Thomas calls it reliving, because every night he goes back to that room. The old refrigerator, the tied hands, the carpet on the floor, the sound of someone laughing while another man begged. Justice came quickly. Police tracked the group, and 5 of the 6 suspects were killed in armed confrontations with authorities. Only one was arrested, the one with the smile. She now sits behind bars, but Thomas measures time differently now. Before that night, after that night, he survived the forest. He survived the beating. He survived the gunshots. But some parts of him never made it out of that wooden house. Every night he has to survive it again, trapped in a loop of fear and helplessness, a dark and lonely place, inside someone else's evil.